Good morning, everyone. It truly means a lot to see you all here today. Sadly, from 1915 to 1923, the Ottoman Empire initiated a systematic persecution of its Armenian population, leading to the deaths of over 1.5 million Armenians in a genocide. Thank you for gathering this morning as we come together to honor and remember the victims of the Armenian Genocide. Your presence is a powerful reminder that their stories, their lives, and their legacies will never be forgotten. The initiative you've shown in organizing and supporting today's remembrance demonstrates the strength of our community and our shared commitment to justice, understanding, and healing. I want to express my sincere gratitude for your dedication and your willingness to stand with the Armenian community. Your participation today reflects profound respect and solidarity. The proclamation this morning is a tribute to the Armenian community in reaffirming our commitment to the remembrance and recognition. Now I'd like to read the last paragraph of the proclamation. Be it proclaimed by all members of the San Diego Board of Supervisors, do hereby proclaim this 21st day of April as Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day throughout San Diego County, in solemn recognition of this tragedy and that has been long denied. Reverend, I'm going to give this to you for a second as I introduce you. I'd like to now introduce Reverend Berjerkian from St. Sarkis Armenian Church. Say it again. How do I pronounce it? Sarkis. Sarkis. In my defense, I have a hard time with my own last name. So, Reverend, thank you for championing in this acknowledgement of the tragedy in prioritizing the remembrance in our community. And I want to do just a quick shout out. We are so fortunate to have such an incredible DA, and I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say too. But Reverend, it's your turn to speak, and I can hold this for you in the interim.
Distinguished guests, Supervisor Anderson, and friends, brothers and sisters, we gather here this morning to bear witness, to say with one voice that what happened to the Armenian people beginning in 1915 was real. It was deliberate and it must never be forgotten. 1.5 million souls were silenced. Entire communities that were rooted for centuries in their ancient homeland were uprooted from their ancestral home for their faith. They were marched into the desert and erased. Mothers, children, fathers, priests, teachers, all gone. But the Armenian people were not erased. They survived. They rebuilt. They carried their language, their faith, and their memory across oceans and into communities like ours here in San Diego. Every Armenian American in this room is a living proof that genocide did not have the final word. We are here because memory is not passive. To remember is an act of resistance. It is a moral obligation to the dead, to the survivors, and to every generation that comes after. When we name what happened, when we call it a genocide, we stand on the side of the truth. And truth, however long delayed, is the only foundation on which justice can be built. On behalf of the St. Sarkis Armenian Parish and community, I thank Supervisor Joel Anderson and the San Diego County for opening these doors and making space for this remembrance. May we leave this room more committed to memory, to justice, and to the enduring light of the Armenian spirit. We remember. Now I would like to introduce our beloved DA, Mrs. Summer Stefan, who is an adored member of the Armenian community of San Diego.
I'm Summer Stephan, San Diego County's District Attorney, and it's an honor to be introduced by the very Reverend Pakrad Berjekian. And I also want to thank Supervisor Joel Anderson and the entire Board of Supervisors for deciding that this is important to remember the Armenian Genocide. It's overwhelming to think about 1.5 million people murdered, executed, marched into the desert, and disappearing. So I'm only going to tell you one story, and it's a story of a little girl named Therese. She was a beautiful little girl. She was very, very excited because her mom was pregnant. So finally, she wasn't going to be the littlest one in the family, and she could be the big sister to the new baby coming. When the Armenian Genocide started and it went into Mardin, where this little girl lived, her father was executed, all of the boys in the family and the men were executed. The women were made to march into the desert. Her mom, very pregnant, walked miles, and finally they arrived to Egypt, to a distant aunt, and her mom succumbed to disease, so she was orphaned. She remained with a very resilient spirit that is the signature of the Armenian community, a signature of never lying down, always standing up for truth and right, always defending the most vulnerable, always being kind, always being generous, always being truthful. And she finally ended up in the United States. This little girl, Therese, was my grandmother and my inspiration for everything that I do, and the reason that I fight for justice for my community, the Armenian community, but for every vulnerable community around the world. We know that when we forget about history, that it's bound to be repeated. Sadly, sometimes it's bound to be repeated even when we remember it. But we have a chance to erase and not repeat a terrible history by remembering it. So I am very grateful for the remembrance of the Armenian Genocide today, to honor my grandmother and many of our people's grandmothers and great-grandmothers. At this time, it's my privilege to introduce my friend and a pillar of the Armenian community and the community in general in San Diego, Kathy Kasarjian. She is a person of action. She goes and she helps orphan children. She always honors her heritage by her courageous and generous actions. Kathy?
Good morning, supervisors and guests. I am honored to be introduced by my dear friend, Summer Stephan. Thank you, Summer. As an Armenian American and descendant of the genocide survivor, I stand before you today with a heavy heart and an unbreakable spirit. In 1915, 1.5 million lives were lost. Our ancestors endured unimaginable horrors during the Armenian Genocide. Families torn apart, lives stolen, and homeland lost forever. This is not history. It is deeply personal to me. I never had a chance to meet my grandparents, my uncles and aunts, and to hear their voices or to feel their embrace. And yet, even in the face of such darkness, our people survived. They carried their pain, but also their faith and their hope scattered across the world. They rebuilt their lives with courage, with dignity, and with an enduring belief in freedom and justice. So today, let us do more than remember, but to honor their suffering, by standing up against injustice, speak the truth when it is difficult, and to choose compassion, peace, and humanity. I want to express my deepest gratitude to Supervisor Joel Anderson and to all San Diego supervisors for recognizing Armenian Commemoration Day. This acknowledgement means more than words can express. It is a step toward embracing, remembering, respect, and truth. May we never forget 1915 and always have the courage to stand for what is right. Thank you.
I have a good friend here that's not scheduled to speak, but John Dadian wanted to say a word.
Good morning, everyone. First thing I want to say, I'm going to say this straight out bluntly. The Armenian community has no better friend than Joel Anderson. God bless him for doing this. And this proclamation is signed by all 5 supervisors. A lot of people don't realize San Diego County is the 5th largest county in the country. This is huge. The last time Supervisor Anderson did this type of ceremony, it got intense media coverage. In Armenia, it made the paper, it made the evening news about little old San Diego. So everybody's got to realize the importance of this. Armenians, since the massacre, have assimilated into this country. They've become district attorneys. We had a governor of this state. But some had to change their name for different reasons. I'll just give you 2 brief examples. Who knows, raise your hand, who knows who Sherilyn Sarkeesian is? One person. Well, nobody. I expect all you to know. Just one person. Sherilyn Sarkeesian, you might know as Cher. So Armenians have a rich tradition in this country of participating in all different sports, entertainment, etc. The next one is whose name changed. And the reason I'm bringing up his name change is because we're talking about the genocide. The famous tennis player, Andre Agassi. That is not his original name. His ancestors were in Armenia during the massacre. And Andre writes in his book that the reason they changed their name, because when it ends in IAN, that's a dead giveaway that it's Armenian. The reason his family changed their name, and this is a direct quote from his book, is because the Turks were walking down the middle of the street and using Armenians as target practice. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the genocide. Let's never forget. And Supervisor Anderson and the entire board, thank you again.